Welcome back, everybody. It's a little Thanksgiving podcast, so happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. Hope you're with your family and everything's going well. So today we're going to talk a little bit about managing expectations. It's a common theme that we keep coming across with conversations between ourselves as well as with other people. And it's tough to do. It's easy to say. A lot of people think they're doing that.
Yeah.
But as you delve into conversations, you find that I think it's a natural kind of human endeavor is to kind of hope. I don't know about hope, but it basically just like it's difficult to manage expectations. We always want the best outcome for everything, which is natural, but like you got to be honest with yourself. You got to be able to sort of like temper those expectations so that whatever comes, you're able to accept it and improve upon it. So,
when you're saying manage expectations, what's the topic you think in particular? Like our mental health, our self-discipline kind of expectation, the SGB expectation, kind of like what, just everything? Or
I think, yeah, I mean, like for us, it's the topic lately in our personal lives with our circle of people that we've been talking with. It's the SGB shots that people are going to get, what we call the dual sympathetic resets, the DSR/SGB shots that people are going down to Irvine to get. Because we've been having a lot of those conversations with people, and it's very interesting because many people say they're managing their expectations, that they go down there knowing it's not a magic pill, that, you know, because we talked about this earlier, like we go back and check ourselves to make sure we're not overhyping these things and saying things are inaccurate. Like, oh yeah, just go get the shot and then your life's perfect. You know, it's like, I'm confident that you and I have both made it very clear that this is a whole, it's a whole package. Like the shot is an important part to reset the biological. That's the surgery that we talked about, comparing it to like your ACL, but it still takes a lot of work after that. And it's mindfulness and being able to pay attention to the daily subtle changes and not being disappointed that you didn't have this huge, profound reaction, which is a possibility.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a spectrum. So, but I mean, we could go any direction with it. I don't care. Because I mean, managing expectations in any aspect of life is difficult.
Right. It is. I think, you know, with the SGB in particular, I want to make it clear, you know, on my side, you know, we talk about the stellate ganglion block a lot. We talk about, you know, the reset it gives your system. You know, my thinking on it is it's what we should get in the beginning of any kind of, brain injury, mental type challenge training thing to get yourself better to homeostasis, I would say, because now you can take on the other challenges with a better mindset. And I don't want to act like I'm coming off as some rep for Stella or the SGB or you know, just trying to push one single narrative of you have to go get this or else nothing else is going to work. I'm just passionate about this personally, and, you know, the expectations of or managing our expectations, because personally for me and some of my other close buddies have been struggling with things for a very long time. And you still feel like something is holding on to you, like you still feel a prisoner a little bit. This will free you from that. So it's a tool that you put into your arsenal of training or whatever to go along with all the other things that you have in current medicine, I would say, that is going to suit you for where you are currently at in your life. And I'm passionate about this because it's changed my life. My expectations on it from Shane have, he has straight up told me, guys, like, hey dude, just the subtle things, you know, you're still going to, you know, do your cold plunges. You're still going to do your journaling, your meditation, your therapy stuff, and communication. Continue to look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, are you putting in that daily work? But, yeah, I just wanted to make that clear because a lot of different people we're talking to, some are like, man, it's changed my life. And I'm so much better for it. So rad, you have that story. Now somebody else gets it and they're like, well, that didn't happen to me. What the hell? You know, like, is this shot really, you know, that good? I'm hearing these stories. Maybe it's not what it's cracked up to me. Maybe it's a placebo effect. Maybe, they're just trying to push a narrative because they had good results. Who are the F for these guys, right? We're just trying to give clear information without the best I can, without being like non-biased on one way. But from my personal experience, some close buddies I really respect from a lot of work they've done. That's why I feel like we talk about the SGB a lot, because it is the real deal in my opinion. And I don't want to talk about something I can't fully back. So I'm just pretty passionate about that.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think that one of the things that I've seen common, we talked about this last night, was, when I speak to people about it, when they ask me, I don't push it on anyone. I give my perspective from it, which I've said over and over and over, like, I didn't feel anything. I thought I wasted the money. I thought, no, okay, yep, just what I figured. It didn't do much for me. I already thought I was calm. I already thought I was chill, prior to it. And it took a while for me to really, oh yeah, this little subtle thing, I'm more present in this moment. Oh, this would normally piss me off, but I don't feel as angry right now. Or this did piss me off, but I get over it faster. It doesn't derail my whole day, things like that. So those things have added up over the past 8 months, whatever it's been since I got the shot. But it's so funny because you and I have talked about it, where like I'll say those things to people, but I don't know, it doesn't hit the same. And I think there's a certain part of the hope that goes along with this, because this is one of those things that really does give people hope once they hear these stories from people. Another thing that's very unique is when you experience it in person, even if you're not the one getting the procedure done, you see the transformation, and it's very powerful to see that. So a buddy of ours shared a story about seeing another guy discuss his experience with it, and how tears were streaming down his face as he talked about re-engaging with his kids, his family, how this thing had sort of like saved his life. And you can't help but want that for yourself too. You see that kind of reaction in somebody, and you're happy for that person for sure, but there's got to be something subconsciously that's like, oh, well, if this person's like that, like it'll work like that for me too, I hope, right? And then when it doesn't, you don't have that huge, profound reaction. I understand the disappointment that's involved with that. And that goes back to the managing expectations. The idea is, it's like, yeah, you can hope all day, but you have to manage the reality of the situation. It is affected. And I think for me, I have a very analytical thought process. So I can separate myself from the emotional side of it and just be very data driven, very scientific, and just like, what does it really do? What is it designed to do? It's that biological reset. It's not designed to make you happy at all. That's not what happens. That's a mindset thing. That's work later. That's you as a person. If you're a dick before you got the shot, you're going to be a dick after the shot. Yeah. I've told multiple people that. So if your personality is that, people, are as abrasive and stuff like that, like that's how it's going to be, However, if you take the time to really research it and really understand what it's doing, you will absolutely see that it works. And then you'll realize that now the burden's on you to be grateful for the reset, the chance to kind of restore the calm and control, and then kind of arrange your life in whatever way works for you. But it starts with the knowledge, in my opinion. And we talked about this where I said, it's like, I have sent out loads of intel about this to some people. And I heard somebody made a statement that there's just not enough research out there.
Yeah.
And I had to laugh, because I'm like, really, I would love to see, if somebody was honest with me, how much of the research that I sent them did they really look at? Mm-hmm. Did they read the white paper? Did they go online? I mean, the Stella Center website has loads of it, and you don't even have to go to Stella Center. You can go basically to any of the other providers around the country that are doing this. Sean Mulvaney is the Navy SEAL that I think he's credited with experimenting using the left side. I think Lipoff credited him with, Lipoff created the dual sympathetic reset, but Mulvaney, I believe, was the first one that I said, oh, well, works on the right, let's try it on the left, and they found, oh, that bumped the efficiency up by another 50%. So point being is, like, don't use a Stella Center, use somebody else if that's what you want. But there is research. Like, don't say there's not. It's just you're not willing to. And we talked about this. It's like, because it is such a strange sounding, quote unquote, new innovative technology, which it's not. It's been around since 1926. What I've seen get people over the hump to actually pursue it is the trusted word of a friend, a
Exactly.
brother, a sister. Because, and I got a specific text from a guy that said essentially that. He's like, trusted word from a brother is worth 100 doctors. And that's the thing that I think that people need to understand. It's like, if you're even considering something like this, it means you recognize something's going on in your life. It means that you recognize that you're in a stuck point, right? And you're looking for some help. So then you get people that say like, oh, well, that's just an easy way out, or there is no easy way out. There is no magic pill. It's like, that, you're right. There's not, but you can talk all day long, but you can't beat your biology. So if you have an opportunity to do that and get a reset, and then do that same work that you're willing to do without the reset, like you're living proof of that, to talk about how much work you put in and the difference in the aftermath. So it's just an interesting, because these conversations, and you're now becoming more of this now because you're on the other side, right? Like now you've had it.
Exactly.
And you're hearing these conversations with that. You're truly listening. You're truly absorbing what people are saying. And you're like, dude, are you listening to the things that are being told to you? Are you actually reading these articles, these peer-reviewed journals? Are you watching the videos, the testimonials, the content that's out there on what this really is? And the truth is, no. What they want is somebody trusted to tell them, you're going to be okay. And look at me, it's great, and it's going to work for you too. And it's just an interesting process, right?
Yeah, it is, man. And we, had one of your buddies here just last night. We were talking about stuff, and the first question I asked was, how you feeling? Do you think it worked for you? I don't know. I'm still figuring it out. That conversation led into 20, maybe longer, 45 minutes. I don't know, of just all the things it did do.
Well, he talked for 15 minutes straight, right?
Yeah.
Talked himself into how great it is for him.
Yeah.
And all the effects, including the complete eradication of what nightmares. He described to us as weekly nightmares.
Yep.
That would ruin his day.
Yep.
More interaction with his kids, enjoying the time with his kids, calmer reactions to stuff, enjoying being back at work and discussing, just basically like participating in crew activities and being part of the guys, along with multiple other improvements he mentioned. But 15 minutes straight, you're exactly right. He starts out with like, I can't really tell the difference, but 15 minutes later, he's got a big stupid grin on his face. Yep. And he's going on about how, I think it's been okay. It's like, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. There was something I picked up, and we've hung out a few times. He said it with passion, and if you're listening to this, man, he was like, man, I love my job. We all say that, even if we're burnt out or whatever, but he said it, and I was like, dude, that's rad. Like, I can tell that, like you said, that fire has reignited itself. Is that saying everyone's going to feel that way? That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that's how it was for that individual person. That's a great example and a great outcome of how we all hope it could be. Maybe that now, we've talked about this, dude. Maybe you don't get that reset in particular like that person did, but now you have the choice to figure out what you want to do versus feeling like you're just surviving or just getting by and doing what you have to do. Now you're able to look yourself in the mirror and say, okay, maybe I gotta make a different choice. But that's a lot better than being forced to do it. There's another one, one of my other buddies, he didn't even do any research at all. And I go, hey man, did you read the white papers? Did you read some of the peer studies? Did you, watch the webinar I sent you? Did you look at some of those hyperlinks I sent you through Stella of how the DSR works and what to expect? No, man. You know what? I've been in the struggle for over 20 years. And he goes, you name it, I've done it. And he goes, I'm just want to go in with an open mind, and I just want to see how I felt. You talked to him for over 3 hours. We kind of talked about it a little bit on another podcast, but as this subject of, managing expectations, I just really want to give different examples of different people's outcomes because I want people to feel versed in what this can do for different systems, basically. He legit felt like, oh, you know what? Now I feel like I want to go back to work. I haven't heard that from him for a very long time. It's like, wow, dude, really? Yeah, man. Like, I'm feeling pretty good. Like, I don't want to say this is the placebo. I don't want to, I'm very skeptical about stuff. And this guy's a very respected guy that's worked at some great departments. And someone with, a brain injury as well. And he's like, this has changed my life. And he was very hesitant to say that. He's like, I don't want to say it's changed my life, but dude, I'm going to say it. It's changed my life. I'm like, awesome, bro. Good for you. And some are going into this with an expectation of they're going to feel all those emotions. Oh, it didn't do anything. Okay, well, what did you do the week up to? What are you doing after your shot? What's the support you have? Something we've talked about, Shane, is what we're realizing is some people are going either alone, they're Ubering it there, or they are going with a mindset of, how do I say, I don't want to say the wrong mindset because they're doing it. Awesome. Good for you. But give yourself a week, I think is kind of what is what we've kind of been seeing, a week or so of accepting the process. Just like if you're going to go into surgery for your knee or your shoulder or something, it's like you're going to be off work for a little bit. I'm not saying you have to be off for a month or 2 weeks or whatever, but take a couple of days off before. Get your body, get your mindset in that right frame of mind, and support yourself like we've talked about. If you have the family support, department support, awesome. And after the shot, give yourself a few days to accept a new normal. And if you just go right straight back into working or even working out, that's how it was for me. It's like, man, I just want to get back in the gym. Taking the advice from me, you're like, hey man, just take a week, dude. Accept it. Don't rush into stuff. Just let your body reset. I'm like, all right, you know what? Shane's done this. I haven't. I'm going to listen. So that's what I did. There's plenty of people I know that have got it that haven't done that. They're back on duty right away. They haven't prepared a couple of days before. And they're like, man, I don't really notice the difference. It's like, well, have you slowed down to actually ask yourself these questions? How are you feeling prior? How are you feeling after? No, man, I don't know if it really worked for me, man. I'm like, all right, well, take some time off and reanalyze how you were a week ago. And I'll text them back. How did you feel when this happened at work? How did you feel when your kids did this, or your wife or your friend? You know what? It didn't irritate me that, as much. Or, wow, you know what? My sleep is better, or I am more present. It's like, yeah, exactly. We are given a chance to now retrain our system of how we want it to be. Take advantage of that, and slow it down a little bit. Us as firemen in particular, the majority are type A, and we want to go get stuff done now, which is great. Just because you don't go straight back to the gym or go straight back to duty doesn't mean you're not getting stuff done. Take care of yourself, because the more you take care of yourself, that other stuff is going to be so much better. Those are some of the things I've noticed with it is just give yourself that proper reset time as well.
Yeah. No, it's funny. I've had this conversation probably 30 times in the last few weeks, with different people, and the different types of things that lead us towards this. Like for instance, one of my buddies, I know his BP runs high, and so he's done both sides, and both when he got the right one first, afterwards he said, oh, I don't really feel anything. I don't know any difference. What's your BP? Well, I don't know. Like, so you're not checking it. You're not actually like looking for a data point to help you see if something changed. Oh, I forgot. Okay. So then we have a meeting, and other people around him are like, dude, he's way more chill. I can sense it from him. I can feel his energy's different. Like, yep. Oh yeah, no, I know. I can see it. He just can't see it in himself. Goes back and gets the left side done. Same program, dude. Tells me that, yeah, it was pretty intense. Like he had a weird kind of reaction to it for a split second. It was kind of gnarly, but afterwards he's like, yeah, maybe I'm a little calmer. I don't know. Same question, right? What's your BP? Oh, I forgot. And I'm like, dude, I don't know what to do with you guys. Like, I was seriously like, I just don't understand. It's like, and and that's all easy to say, hard to do. I get it. We got to go make money. Got to put food in the dog's dish. That stuff is there, but you're exactly spot on. Where it's just like, if you can mentally prepare yourself for those things and manage those expectations and realize that like, hey, let me pause for a second. Let me do this. Let me do that. And then pay attention to the subtleties. That's the majority of people. And I think that's really, it's funny. I know I've said it before multiple times, not just on the podcast, but in person to people. It's like the majority of people don't have profound reactions.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't.
Yep.
There are some people that do. And there are most people have sort of an up and down for a while. That's another thing that I know I've said, but some people, for whatever reason, they don't hear that part of it. My own wife, it's been a little over a week that I've been home. Let's see here. No, that's not true. 2 weeks, right?
2 weeks, I think.
Yeah. So we're coming on 2 weeks ago was when she got hers. And last night was the first night she was able to articulate what it actually did, right? It was the first time I heard her. I was celebrating on the couch because I'm like, perfect. Finally, it's the first time I've heard her say it out loud that she understands that all the thing did was help her biology reset, period. That's simple. As crazy as that sounds, that's what it does, right? So once you understand that, it makes it so much easier. And yesterday she had a great day. Today she's happy and bouncing around. But it took a few weeks of some kind of negotiating this new feeling of calm and control and feeling emotions in a different way, the way they're kind of intended to be felt in the body instead of being like suppressed by all these other things that we do over the course of our lives to adapt.
Yeah.
And so that was huge for me to hear her say that, because she's heard me say this since basically April. And this is the first time I've heard her articulate.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude.
So
yeah, that's great, man. As far as like, I get passionate about it. It's like we can't force anyone to put the work in, and I know we want results super fast, but I have to hone in so much on, I don't know these guys. I don't know these, some of your buddies that have gotten it or whatever, or anybody else that's listening that we don't know that wants to get this or wants to do some research on it, that wants to get in contact with us. But you got to stop the excuses. And in my opinion, it's like, okay, it takes how many blood pressures do we take a day on shift? Seriously.
Me, none, but yeah, no. No, yeah. We all the time. Yeah. We could sleep.
Yeah, we could say, okay, well, I forgot or I had no time. So I tore my medial meniscus about a year and a half ago. Said, hey, you're supposed to have 100% recovery in 6 to 8 months. Worked out at the station the other day. This is going to round about to what I'm saying about accountability and an injury. Feeling something versus not feeling something. And the other day I was working out. Now I've been limping the past couple of days, right? I can physically see the swollen knee. I could physically feel it. I cannot walk normal because, now I have to kind of baby it a little bit. I'm not saying being a wimp and pitying myself. I'm saying I just can't walk normal for a little bit, right? How long will that be? I don't know. But it's like you can feel the physical injury. You can see it. And you're like, okay, I got to take it a little bit easier. I can't go do the work I want to do or whatever, right? So it's like when we get the shot or when we're going to do the therapy stuff or this, the brain, we may not physically feel what we do if you get the nightmares and all these other things, but after the shot, it's like when you get a surgery, think about this. You might be on crutches, right? Oh, did the surgery work? I don't know. You hope it does. Then you gotta go to physical therapy. You gotta, get the proper rest. You gotta ice it. You gotta heat it. You gotta elevate it. All these things you gotta do, right? It's just not like, get the surgery and go live your normal life right away, right? There's a process you have to do. So it's the same thing, guys. Like you gotta go along with it and be like, okay, you know what? My nervous system, something that is running my life pretty much, you now are going to reset it. Now you get to give it the love and attention it needs. And we are all looking for that magic pill to be like, that still feels the same. Okay, well, sorry, dude. And I just want to give reasonable expectations And a lot of people listening to this, know how Shane is. And, I took what he said to heart, and I went in it with a real big open mind, and mine was up and down. I didn't have immediate results right away. I got pretty anxious, got super emotional. I felt like things were, I think I said in the past podcast, like I just felt like I wasted some time in my life a little bit of like, are you freaking kidding me? I could have got this a couple of years ago. Get mad at myself. How come I didn't know about this sooner? All those things. And even it's been almost 2 months now, but it really is an ebb and flow and an up and down of getting to a new normal. Because if you're used to just surviving and just getting by, and really not being fully present, and you say you're not checked out, but when you talk to somebody, are they looking at looking at you in the eyes? Are they actively listening, or are they just waiting to speak? Right? There's a lot of these things you have to pay attention to. For instance, when your buddy was here last night, I know from the last time I talked to him, prior to the shot, over the phone, and also being in person, he was listening. He was staring at me in the eyes. He wasn't just itching. I gotta say something. It was like, okay, yeah, when it's my time to speak, I'll speak. Those are huge things. And if you're struggling with that, like, pay attention to those things. Like, I can sit here and eat a plate of dinner without just want to jump out of my skin. I'm not worried about the dishes have to get done right away because something's out of place, right? Or the trash has to get taken out after dinner. That's how I was. I was like, okay, well, the kitchen always has to be clean. Dishes always have to be clean. Trash always has to be empty. I couldn't really.
And we still do those things, right? Like, but you're just
sure.
not shackled to it in that moment. We can sit and it's like, yeah, the dishes can wait for a little while. We're having a conversation, or we're just, hanging out. And yeah, that's the difference. So it doesn't change you.
Exactly.
You're still, you're still a clean person. You're still, you like things in order. That's good.
Yes.
But the physiological, prison that you're in of those things that dictate how your day is going to go, that's what gets sort of released.
Mm-hmm.
And that's that biological reset. But it's difficult because I think a lot of the conversations that I'm having, and I get asked a lot of questions about, it's kind of like sometimes I hear, well, like last night when we were talking, one of the talking points was, well, if this was so effective, if this was so good, the insurance would cover it because it's in the interest of the insurance companies to take care of people. And that was an interesting perspective to me because it's like, yeah, at a logical, rational level, that makes sense. But I just had an appointment with a work comp doc who told me the complete opposite, who told me that one of his biggest hurdles with work comp is that the interests aren't aligned. They have their policies, they have their procedures. The patient outcome isn't really always the goal.
Exactly. Unfortunately,
there's so much monetary incentive to overprescribe, overmedicate, basically continue to pump this stuff towards people, where this is a thing that resolves a lot of issues in a one-time treatment that could be repeated if necessary, but it's inexpensive. I mean, it's like our buddy said last night, right? Like $1,000, like on one side, and big difference, huge difference. Like he even said, right, he would pay $10,000.
Yep.
It was his exact words were, to get rid of those nightmares, I'd have done whatever I needed to do to get the money together to pay for it, right? So that statement alone, it's like, yeah, I understand what you're saying in a rational side of your brain that says like, well, yeah, if this is so great, why isn't it mainstream? Why don't the insurance companies pay for it? And it's like, there's actually multiple kind of tales out there from the past that are aligned with this kind of example. One of them being, I'll probably say it wrong, but it was like the black death of childbirth or something. There was this period of about 30 to 40 years where a bunch of children were dying during childbirth, and they couldn't understand what it was. They'd be born seemingly healthy. They would get sick right after being born and they would die. And so there was all this speculation in the medical field as to like what was causing this. And, of course, all the so-called experts had their opinions, and depending on where they were and whatnot. And this one guy suggested, well, maybe instead of going from one surgery to the next, we need to leave one surgery, wash our hands, and go to the next. Because maybe us not washing our hands, maybe we're cross-contaminating here. And this is no kidding. You can look this stuff up online. That individual, doctor, whoever he was actually ostracized within that community, because how dare you suggest that it's the doctors that are creating this problem? How dare you suggest that these surgeons are the ones killing these kids because they are not doing something that could prevent that, right? It was such a unbelievable notion to that medical community at the time. And when you think about that for a second and apply it to your own life and whatever that looks like, whether it's you're a firefighter, maybe you work in a hospital, maybe whatever, you work in an office, anything, like, people don't like change. And if there's ever an indication or an inference that maybe you're part of the problem, people blow up, right? So when you talk about something like the shot, it's so new to most people. I mean,
Yes.
we just found out about this year. I told you and him the story last night. Like, I've said it on the podcast. I didn't get it because I did loads and loads and loads of research. I did my YouTube University exploration like most people do.
Yeah.
And I'd say that was probably an hour's worth of watching videos. Okay, lots of testimonials. Sounds good. I don't know any of these people. But when I saw people going that I had gotten to know and I saw the transformation in them, that's all I needed to see.
Yep.
Made sense. Again, went into it with the mentality of the worst this does for me is nothing.
Yep.
The worst is nothing changes. I'm out some money. So if you can apply that mentality to it and understand that, like, there's resistance to change, for a long time, until enough evidence and enough people turn the tide to where you realize, oh, I need to wash my hands. Now, can you imagine in today's world, like, not washing your hands after doing a surgery?
Yeah, exactly.
What do we do after a BS call, even when we don't touch a patient, right? As a captain, I'm standing back a lot of times and the guys are doing the assessment, and we walk out. When we go back to the firehouse, what do? I wash my hands, because we were in the fire engine, we were touching things, we were out in the public. And it's just funny to think for a second that a surgeon would literally, like, come out of surgery and walk over to another room and deliver a baby, something like that. And that's always stuck with me, that particular story, because in order to change that process, it took something like 3 decades.
Wow.
If you read up about that, it took a long time for them to finally put 2 and 2 together and say, like, oh yeah, this is part of that problem. And so ideally this becomes a norm. Ideally this becomes accepted by insurance, accepted by work comp, an acceptable reset that augments the work that psychotherapists, psychologists, psychiatrists, all those people do. And it shouldn't be a threat to them, which it is.
Yeah.
Let's be honest, a lot of clinicians don't like it because they're afraid that, oh, if this person gets a reset, then they don't need me anymore. So now you're taking food out of their dog's dish.
Yep.
This is always a personal incentive to most people, is like, hey, how am I paying the bills, keeping the lights on? So it's a weird thing, but if you can look at it as an augmentation to those types of things, you can see it's a powerful asset to have. We talk about medication. Some people say things like, oh yeah, because I'm not an advocate for meds. However, I've said it before. I'll say it again. It's on the record. Like, if you need meds, take your meds.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, if you have a medical condition, that's the beauty of science, is like, they've created stuff that helps you. It's like, I have a cadaver ligament in my right knee. I'm all for science. I'm all for, medicine. I just don't like starting there right out of the block for something like that for me. Right. But anybody that is so anti-med, it's kind of like, dude, you got to understand there's a balance.
Yeah, for sure.
Right. And everybody's different. So you have to have that open mind. You have to manage expectations. Yeah, it's fascinating to me to see how that dynamic is shifting. And there's something tangible that I can see and feel through this process, because again, I haven't sent any of this out on a mainstream platform. This has all been grassroots, word of mouth. And I mean, I have connections all over the nation now that are constantly reaching out. We've done, national webinars. We started filming a documentary. We've been working on the phone, on Zooms, on constant contact with all of the leadership in all these different organizations, getting the word out, getting people help, and those people are having the same revelation. It's funny too. And there's another thing I see that happens. Like, almost everybody that gets involved with this has the same, like, why isn't this out there? Why didn't I know about this sooner?
Yep.
And what can we do to get everybody to know about it? And let's start a nonprofit so we can fund these for everybody.
Yeah.
Like, those are really common themes. Like, once a person goes through this process and feels and sees how effective it is, I swear I get those conversations all the time. I just had that yesterday. Somebody called me about, hey, have you ever thought about starting a nonprofit? And I was just smiling to myself like, yeah, we were talking about it 6 months ago.
Yep.
But I love your passion. Like, bring it.
Hell
like,
yeah.
Yeah, if we can all do it, maybe we can do it together. Maybe we start multiple ones. Who knows?
Yeah, it's a real thing, man, because, not everybody, I mean, in my opinion, if you're still on the job, $1,000 or $11.50 or whatever we got it for, it's like, that's an overtime, and that's exactly what he said, your buddy last night. But it's wild because after talking, to that dude last night, I ought to pay $10,000, for this, but the very first question I asked, his initial was, I don't know. I'm still kind of skeptical, I'm playing it by ear. But going from no more nightmares to being more present to 1,000 to 10,000, there's all these positive things. And it's like, and I asked him again, I was like, so it worked? Yeah.
I think I attribute some of that to people that do this. A lot of people are private about it, so then they go back to their lives and they just resume what they were doing prior.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the thing about managing your expectations. Like if you think that you're going to change just based off the single process of the shot happening, like, it's not going to work. There has to be some changes. Like, you can't go back to whatever got you into that rut before and expect to be different. So I think why it's continued for a lot of people to prove to be more effective and even improve over time is this kind of interaction, because you and I talk about this stuff all the time. So it's on the forefront of our mind. We are paying attention more every day to these things, and we're able to pick up and identify the subtleties that a lot of people aren't, because they just resume back to the normal chaos of life.
True.
So I think there's a certain level of, like, last night, that was the proof when you watched him go through this gamut of emotions in a short time frame, to where he was grinning and happy to talk about it and saying, like, how much he wants to, like, share it with other people and everything else. Right. But the conversation started out exactly like you said, with, like, yeah, I don't know if it worked or not. And it's like, cause that daily, affirmation of it, it just wasn't there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, exactly.
I don't know if he's been having these conversations.
Well, it's like you said, you kind of just get back in your daily routine. And that's what I'm saying. Like, with this is all new for us, dude. You were the first one to get it, in our circle, I would say. Then, some of your buddies got it, then I got it, and more people are getting it. And as we're navigating through this, I feel like it's a new process for us here, and trying to give a blueprint or some kind of path to the best way for you to recover, heal, whatever word you want to use for yourself, with something that, first of all, mental health is pretty taboo. It's something we don't really talk about. Now you want to go put a shot in your neck to reset your nervous system. It's like, what the heck are these guys talking about? And it's just, we see a lot of guys suffering. And so if there's stuff we can do to clear up your guys' path and use our path of things that we wish we would have done, then we're going to give you that information and give you more examples. The more guys and girls that, or men and women that go through it, we're going to take those examples and share them, because we do want those expectations to be not too high.
Realistic.
I want them to be realistic, because maybe there's all these things that you're struggling with, but like up at the center, man, people are having IBS. If I would have got this, years ago, maybe I would have had to keep a stinking trash bag and toilet paper and a trash can with me on the rig, because I was going to blow my load every hour, honestly, dude.
Yep.
So it's just different for everybody. And I personally wanted to talk about this because the more people we're talking to, I'm just seeing, a realm of different opinions and perspectives. And then now there's some skepticism. Well, it was great for this guy and it wasn't that good for this guy, and this guy says it doesn't do anything. It's like, okay, well, let's just talk about it and let's open up the conversation to start new conversations and try to get in the room of the right people. So your expectations are good for you or your family or whatever.
I think the funny part too, it's like, go back to the very first episode I'm listening to when you and I talked in my backyard. And it's like, I said it very clearly when I got there, and guys were like, bro, you're going to get the shot? And I'm like, what are you talking about? And they're like, oh, they give you this shot in your neck and it resets your brain. If you think that I was like, yeah, that sounds awesome, you're out of your mind. Like, yeah. I had the same thought that people that hear about this have, which is like, yeah, you're nuts. You're not sticking a needle in my neck and messing with my brain, my chemistry. But like, what do you, I've never even heard of this. This is insane. This sounds like some experimental nonsense, right?
Yeah.
So the point is, it's like, I'm speaking from a point of experience now where it's like, no, I've been through that. I get the skepticism. I want people to be, I think you're an idiot if you're not skeptical and do your own research. My argument is like, you're not doing the research. Like, don't bullshit me. I mean, there's a handful of people that are, don't get me wrong. There's plenty of people that I know personally who done pretty deep dives on the stuff, right? And they've come up with their own experience or their own sort of, conclusions, and then their own expectations. And I think they're reasonable, and that's awesome. So this isn't a blanket statement, but I think the majority of people like, and I'm one of them. This is another thing. If you're listening to what I'm saying, I'm not saying that I was like this like student of this before I did it. The proof was to me that in the 2 weeks prior to me getting it, and when I was at the Center of Excellence, was watching people leave and come back and be transformed.
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, this is not placebo.
Nope.
You can't have that kind of control group and see. And it wasn't just the like the verbal, oh, I feel that. I would see the physical transformations on people's faces, their shoulders dropping, hear them laughing and joking and engaging. Whereas for a week prior, they'd just been this moody, dark, distant person that wasn't engaged. So those things that I saw that you can't, fake to a certain degree. I mean, some of it I suppose you can, but like your actual face, your body language, that's something that's very subconscious and is kind of like something you don't usually control.
Mm-hmm.
Those are those data points to me that I'm like, yeah, there's something here. There's something more to this. And again, my managing expectations was going in like, worst that happens is nothing. And coming out of it, I'm like, well, I'm one of those 20% it doesn't work for because I don't feel different. I feel the same.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was, as I've said multiple times, it was those slow things. And we talked about this last night too. The one difference for me was I was in that facility for another 2 weeks, doing the work. So I didn't immediately get thrust back into real life. So I think that was beneficial for me. However, when I got home, I made it a very like conscious point to pay attention to the daily things that, had changed that I could notice.
Let's talk about that, dude. I think that's a good point because like with your wife, she's obviously from Brazil. So even being sometimes around, she's told me this, sometimes anxious around new people or cameras, right? So initially she's like, no, it didn't work. A little irritated, right? I mean, you can explain that more than me, but now it's a couple weeks after. Now, like exactly what you said, it's like it's a process. Mm-hmm. She got sick. She had her monthly stuff. I'm just being, she's open with that. It's like, so there's these things that when you're even planning your shot, possibly, just like you're going into planning surgery, you get the support, you get whatever. Because men and women are going to get this. So it's like, I'm just being brutally honest. It's like, take all this into consideration. And, you can kind of talk about that more about how she was then to how she is now. But for a while, it's just, even when I first got her a couple of days ago, I saw the irritation a little bit. And now it's like, okay, I'm good. But, she's been able to accept it and she's no longer in that, she was just super busy for a couple of weeks there, on the plane, getting recorded for the documentary, and then being around people she doesn't know, having to communicate. Then you're doing your thing, and just all that goes into. Do I even feel a difference? So I don't know if you want to explain a little bit more of that, but
no, you're spot on. I mean, I saw it instantly because I saw her heart rate drop, I saw her shoulders drop, saw her face change. I mean, that was the people that we were with said the same thing. They said it to her at dinner. I asked her, a couple of examples early on, and she was able to articulate like, oh yeah, that night we went to dinner, I wasn't anxious. I didn't get like self-conscious. I just enjoyed dinner with everybody. And that was a big thing. That was no small success, right? Same thing with the plane, like taking off and landing in a plane usually stresses her out. I mean, I think she was still anxious to a certain degree, which is a normal human emotion and reaction to things, but it wasn't crippling. Her heart rate didn't jump to 130. So, I mean, we watched it on her watch. We watched it like sort of hover at 90, which is still elevated, but that's a way more reasonable elevation of a heart rate in a quote unquote anxious situation than jumping up to 130 as you sit on an airplane seat, you know? And so then when we got home, you know, yeah, it was being out of the routine, you know, coming back to kind of, okay, we just been gone for a week. We got to do this. We got to do that, all that stuff. And yeah, getting sick, everything, it all factors in. And last night she was a completely different person, right?
For sure. Yeah.
Today seems like the same thing. And there will be tough days ahead for sure. I've had plenty of them since I got back, you know? So if you're naively hoping that from this day forward, every day is full of sunshine, I don't know what to tell you. Like
yeah.
You know, become a realist instead of like, you know, somebody who's just hoping for something that's unreachable. It was just never going to happen. That's a managing of expectations that needs to happen on a daily basis.
Yep. Exactly, man.
So
exactly. No, I mean, that's pretty much what I want to talk about. You know, I feel like we've hit it pretty solid on that, you know. I didn't want this one personally to be a super long, drawn out, hour and a half, 2 hour one. It was just, let's get to the point, you know, how to manage expectations, do some examples. You know, I don't know if you get this, but I get this. It's like, hey man, not everybody knows you. Not your buddies don't know me. So some do, but there's a lot that don't. You know, so reach out to us, get to know me personally. If there's, you know, something you want to know about me, nor, you know more about my story or, whatnot. Same from my side to Shane, you know, reach out to him. But, you know, hopefully what we're bringing you guys is some kind of hope, some kind of help, some kind of tool that you can do more research, or hopefully if it's not us, somebody else gets it that you respect, possibly, to where, like you were saying, it's your tribe. You know, it'll get you down that path if you are suffering. It may not be for you. It may be for a friend or a family member that maybe needs to hear about this, but the purpose of it is to bring expectations to a reasonable level so you know what you are going to get yourself into and how to expect a possible amazing outcome, or maybe just a chill outcome. Like you said, worst thing, it does nothing changes. But, I mean, the data shows that's going to be pretty rare. Nothing changes. And then I don't think we've talked about, have we talked about the ketamine?
not
at all?
No. I think we maybe mentioned it, but I'm new to that too. So it's something very new too.
So it's not something I'm well versed on, but there's because I have had a lot of people ask me, hey, I think I'm gonna try ketamine first. It's like, oh, okay, well, cool. Let's kind of navigate through this. Stella does do ketamine as well.
Mm-hmm.
You do your right, you do your left, and you can also do a ketamine infusion. So if there's anybody listening wondering, well, is it just the SGB? Is it just the shot? No, they do ketamine as well. So there's a lot of options there. So once again, it's like, do their research and go to their website, and you know, all the doctors are on there, all the procedures are on there. You know, hopefully we can get you guys in the right path. So that's all I really want to talk about, man, was just some of those things that we've kind of been hearing back and forth from our friends. Yeah.
No, I think it's great, man. Like, yeah, be skeptical, but if you're even considering it, there's probably a reason why. One thing I will say that I hear repeatedly is a lot of people do some other modality and get good results for a short time, and then things happen again.
True.
Right?
Yes.
So the SGB seems to me to have the longer lasting effect of allowing, since the system itself has resumed a common control, like a normal baseline, it takes longer for a person to get back into the fight or flight if they allow themselves to. Right.
Yeah.
So I talked to a guy when I was in Chicago who said he had gone through Ibogaine, which is currently illegal to my knowledge here in the United States. I don't really know much about it. I've just started hearing about this recently. There's all the psilocybin, the MDMA, ketamine, the magnetic stimulation, the EMDR.
Yeah.
Very few of it I have any personal experience with. Even the ketamine, I don't have personal experience, but I witnessed it. And through anecdotal stories, I can tell you that the two people, and it's not, or three, it's not a huge control group, but the 3 people I saw go through it all said that they felt really good. Will that stay? I don't know. Will it last? I don't know. And not to say the SGB is a one and done. We've said it before. Say it again. But it's funny. I've had people say to me like, I think it's wearing off. And it's like, dude, it wore off in 24 hours. Like, again, that told me everything I need to know about the level of quote unquote research you've done. It's when you tell me that it's wearing off 2 months later, I'm like, dude, you don't get it. Like, like what that means is you're not doing the work.
Exactly.
Period. And maybe you are to a certain degree. So maybe you need some other type of help to sort of like bolster that ability for that. But if it worked for a certain amount of times, then it did its job. It did give you the reset, period.
Yeah.
Like that to me is not something you can deny.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I've heard some other anecdotal stuff about there's a potential for getting the left side that can actually not cancel out, but almost reverse the effect of, like, so the right side's effective, you go get the left, and then you go right back into fight or flight. So I talk to the doctors that do this, and I'm like, is that a 1 in 500? Is it a 1 in 100? And he's like, well, it's like 1 in the thousands and thousands, right? So
okay.
Ketamine was another question that came up, was like, well, hey, what if I had a bad trip on something in the past? Because like people I know have done stuff, and it's like, I'm like, dude, I don't have any idea. So ask the person that does it. He says, I've done 8,000 infusions and I've had 3 people have kind of like in the middle of the procedure having sort of a bad experience, and they actually have a way to stop it in that moment. So you don't have to ride out this uncontrolled bad quote unquote trip that you would if you did something on your own in an uncontrolled fashion. So again, that's a matter of like research. Like a lot of this I'm learning as I go. I had never heard of the left side canceling out the right side till a recent conversation, and I immediately contacted all the experts and was like, have you heard of this? And some of them were like, yeah, we just started hearing there was a few, I believe the data points were coming out of Australia. But I was like, well, again, what are we talking about? 1 out of 10, 1 out of 100? Because it's the first time I'd ever heard it. So it sounds like it's something that, it's a possibility. But again, if you're rolling the dice, would you take a 1 out of 8,000 odds to drastically change your life? I think that's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we talk, I know we're going to end this, but one more thing. We were talking about doing the work. What if we can give somebody some help or advice or a blueprint or a path or whatever to say the work. Even with Doc Springer, she would say it a lot in their classes. All right, well, this is going to give you a reset, but you still got to put the work in. Like, what's putting the work in? Like, what's something we could help people with to be like, what's the work then, guys? Like, what do I do? Okay, am I just going to go to some shrink and just talk this stuff out? What's the work? In your opinion, what was the work for you?
I would say like the daily mindfulness that I put in to really pay attention to the differences in the subtleties and not just go Mach 3 all day long.
Yeah.
Cause like before, my personality was just, I smash everything in my way and just, no matter what happens, like I'm never going to slow down. And, now I force myself to slow down. I force myself to pay attention.
Do you think you could have forced yourself before like you do
chance. Now? No, because I actually thought what I was doing before was healthy.
Got it.
Okay. And as we've talked about that, if you wanted to do a quote unquote intervention on me last year, I'd have laughed in your face.
Yeah.
Right. That's the truth. Because I was pretty squared away in my opinion. Like, this is how you do things. Like, me and another buddy, we have this talk a lot about like warrior mentality and how that's a good thing. Like, I don't feel bad about having this warrior mentality. Like, I think it's good. It's effective, But for me, it's been like that. It's also been doing this kind of stuff, which is sharing with other people, being vulnerable, being able to, help others. I got a text today from a buddy of mine who, it's Thanksgiving, like we said at the beginning. He said, thank you doesn't quite cut it for, him even getting introduced to this and him realizing that, oh shit, there's some stuff I can kind of shore up in my own life, and there's this thing that can help me. And he did, and it did exactly what it's designed to do. And he went in with the right mentality. He's managing the expectation. He's doing it all the right way.
Perfect.
So that work is different for everybody.
Yeah.
He's a religious guy.
Yeah.
I remember him telling me just a few days ago. He's like, dude, I read, I believe he called it his devotional. And he's like, I was able to like really connect with that in a way I haven't in years. And I'm like, well, that's pretty intense when you think about it. If faith is a bedrock of who he is, which I know it is. I mean, I've always viewed him as that kind of person, that like he's a very faithful, devout person who emulates that. And, I think he tries to do that within his family, within his church, all that in a good way. It's all positive stuff. But to know that like he hadn't connected with that faith is pretty interesting. And for him to say that out loud. And then he said he went to church and people were saying to him like, dude, I haven't seen you smile like this in a long time, bro. And he's that, having that mirror held up to you is an important part of it. So that's another part of doing the work, is having a support system around you. We talked about that on the sport podcast about, surrounding yourself with good people. Your diet is not just your food. So it's a combination of all of it, and it looks different for all of us.
Yeah.
That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, no, for sure. I'm right with you, on the work. And, the work is really, I think it just starts, to start it is looking yourself in the mirror and being like, okay, where can I start? And if there's something, because prior I didn't feel like I could focus well, because my brain was so scattered on so many things, and I would just get irritated and pissed and, whatever, all these things. So like some people, it might be talking to themselves, like this podcast is work. It's not work, but like you said, it helps. It's the communication. It's creating awareness. So it's fulfilling for me. I think it is for you as well. If you can't talk open like this, then, there's things that you can do. Like we talk about journaling. You can just write your day out. If you've never journaled before, you can date it and start with 3-5 things you're grateful for. Maybe you've never done that before, and you just kind of what we talked about yesterday, stoicism. It's this is not new stuff. This is just things you can do to kind of put another tool in your toolbox to maybe try it out. If you don't want to do that, maybe it's just a thing of gratitude when you get up in the morning and just saying, I'm thankful for waking up for another day. And, if your wife and kids are there, or just being able to walk, get up, go eat, go do something like that, It's those little changes to where I know before I would force myself with those things, but I didn't fully take it in. Now I could actually take it in. And maybe if you need to go to therapy, go try therapy. If you don't, then don't go do it if you're not feeling it at that moment. You don't want to also just force something and you're trying to put a square peg in a round hole. There's no purpose on that either. But it's just start paying attention and staying aware to some of the work that, no one knows you better than honestly yourself. And pay attention to those things and just try to do what you need to do for yourself, because ultimately it's your life to live. And you don't need to be a prisoner in your own body. So that's what this shot's meant to do. It's meant to help you out. It's meant to give you a better life if you're struggling. You or your family, or even, a better work life also. So anyways, that's all I want to talk about, man.
Cool. I think it's a good one.
Yeah. So you can reach me at epadgettcoaching@gmail.com.
I'm at ricfirecaptain@gmail.com.
Cool. Well, it was a little Thanksgiving episode here. So enjoy your guys' dinners and enjoy your time with family, and all the ones that are listening to this that have got the shot. Maybe this will be a different Thanksgiving for you, and you're going to be a little more present and maybe a little more enjoyable, something that you haven't been used to the past few years. So, my hat's off to you guys. Have fun. Stay safe. We'll talk to you guys soon.